It was very
definitely no new releases.
Yep, nothing.
This week.
Just boring. Just heckin' boring. I could really use some news. Yeah. In case anybody missed it. Awesome, Tara's fantastic. Oh yeah, Tara, do you have the stream? Are you on? Are you good to go? Or you need any advisory work, etc.? You are streaming. Beautiful. All right, cool. Then I can keep. Oh, I should add the text here too. On this one. Provided the text is the thing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh yeah, in Linux audio plugin, hell yeah, dude. I'm actually stoked. You should come up and give us a lowdown on what you're doing, because I for one am extremely excited about it. But I do have plenty of talkies to save you with as well. What's up, Akulich? How you doing? Yeah. So in case we missed it, the big news of the week being Gemini 3. Has anybody been playing with the Gemini 3? I'm quite curious. I personally have played with it a bit. I want to put it through the paces more, but I've heard a lot about it, so I am interested to see. What's up, Akulich? You been playing with it? You up? There should be a little mic button at the bottom of your screen if you were, in case you're not a Discord native. All right, we got one. Oh, hey, what's up?
Hey.
Yeah, you from last week, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You played with Gemini?
I've been playing with Gemini as well as, oh my gosh, why do I forget the name already? What's the editor they just released?
Anti-gravity. Anti-gravity. That's what it is.
Anti-gravity. Yeah, so I've been working with both of those, and so far I'm very happy with it. I've been taking all the different things I'm building like 37 different things, and I'm just going through and like instrumenting them all with Gemini and just kind of, or Gemini 3, and seeing like, oh, what are the results if I use the exact same prompts in the exact same context, and then comparing that to the past results.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, how's that going?
Great. I'm just awash in like, oh, I have to look at the comparison of all these different things, but so I don't have a lot to report just because we're in the human bottleneck part of the problem.
Story of my life. Especially these days.
Yeah, I did notice it seems like it's a lot better at tool calling now. And it might only be inside anti-gravity, but previously Gemini, like at least the Gemini CLI was having a hard time with tool calling, and like Opus really outperformed it, but it seems like they've somehow dialed that in now.
Yeah, did you try it actually in the Gemini CLI? I think I've tried it in a few places, but Gemini CLI is not one of them, personally.
Yeah, I tried Gemini CLI, and it seems like it's a little better than it used to be.
Nice.
But reports getting on anti-gravity are that it is significantly better, much improved.
You know, I have not heard quite the same, or rather, I have heard that when you can get it to work in anti-gravity, it performs well. But the problem with anti-gravity is that anti-gravity is by default. I should have it. Mine needs setup, otherwise I'd pull it on screen. But by default, it just uses your Google account. So if you have like the $20 Gemini membership or whatever, I presume some amount of inference in anti-gravity is included in that. also, there's a little thing on AI Studio that is kind of cool, in that AI Studio and the AI Studio and anti-gravity are connected. If you go to build and you were to start it here, you can actually go into anti-gravity. So like, make me a dashboard that is a cool way to view telemetry logs. Not that I ever have that on the brain perpetually. But the, so yeah, if I get this started here, we'll have code, going into the editor or whatever. I can just pull that straight into anti-gravity, which is really nice. I feel like most agentic editors kind of are doing this sort of thing right now. But I have always been a big fan of like how AI Studio's like UX is. It's really easy to just like hop over. I don't have to worry about how much I'm going to pay, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, the big thing with anti-gravity is that I've heard, and I watched a Ray Fernando stream where it occurred, so I know it happened at least once on release day, that you get like 1 to 2 prompts with it, and then you run out of quota. So it's great at tool calling. It's just that you don't have enough tokens to call any tools a relevant amount of times to get anything done. Mostly
because somebody's got to make some revenue so they can fix the bubble.
Right.
Yeah. I noticed that happening. It would be swimming along just fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, hit the limits, which really annoys me since I actually pay for Ultra.
Oh, really?
And it's like, it feels like if I'm paying for Ultra, I should have gotten early access to the thing, and I should not crap out on me. So
yeah, so if you're on the Ultra plan and you, I presume, are logged in anti-gravity, you're still getting rate limited? I would figure they would give you, the primo stuff, right?
You and I would both figure, but we know how Google is with product. They're not so good thinking about products and customers and things like that. So.
It can be very challenging to think about those things. So I get it, especially when you have a bubble to maintain. But that is, yeah, that's really interesting though, that there's enough demand. What I'm hoping is that kind of sorts itself out over the next couple of weeks, but I suspect it might not, mostly because. I don't know if I'm supposed to leak this or not, but I happen to overhear that Gemini 3 Pro is about 7 trillion parameters, which is massive if you're trying to serve it, so it must be a very sparse MOE. But the issue with Gemini models is that Google has a lot of TPUs, and they build... oh yeah, Mike, I'm quite curious if you've actually used Gemini 3 at all, or if you're even sure these days. No, you're still on Gemini Flash, huh? You don't? Yeah, I thought you could get some for free, though. I'm not sure. That was kind of why I was wondering. But the requested? Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm interested to see... I haven't actually looked to see if 3 has the has like a flash mode, but I know the Pro is around 7 trillion parameters, and it's a Google model, which means they wanted to use all their fancy TPU infra to get it trained and served. So unless you are already on GCP, it's going to be hard for you to serve, and Google is going to need to or the moral of that story being, it's going to take longer for the pressure to come off of that API. All of them suck on release day because their API is just getting hammered, and there's basically no way to serve it and actually adequately prepare for that. But Google's going to have a hard time sort of offloading that to other people, probably, I'm presuming, because it's a gigantic model and it's only well suited for Google infra. So I guess we'll kind of see how that goes, but I will say that there are a couple of places that I have heard is a good place to get tokens from Gemini 3, one of which is Windsurf. The logic for why that is interesting, in that Oh, put you on? Yeah, I got you. What's up? I can't, I don't know if I have like a thing that is like, okay, there we go. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, if you're requesting and I haven't been letting you up, just like ping me in chat or something, I was able to see mics. So you should be able to jump on now, I think. Invite to speak? What does Google Form? True, we should save that Google Form as a link, actually, and put it in the show notes. Yeah, Mike, I tried to invite you. I'm not sure what's going on. But you should have something that should let you up, let you jump on here. But yes, Windsurf is, I hear, a good place to run Gemini 3. And I think it's primarily because everyone uses Cursor and nobody uses Windsurf. Despite Windsurf, you know, they have good differentiators at this point, I feel like. I've been in Windsurf a lot lately because I've been kind of obsessed with the code maps thing. But the advantage there is that they have enough pull to be able to get access to Gemini 3, but they have less demand hitting their APIs than, say, Cursor or Google, such that, and they are big enough to be running it on their own infra. So my suggestion for if you're getting token limited on Gemini 3 would be to use Windsurf. And then the other place that I'm not 100% on, if so far for me it's been working fine. I'm not 100% on what their uptime on their API is, but it's the same sort of situation in Droid, in that everybody uses Claude code, everybody uses Cursor, so Droid and Windsurf are big enough to where they want their serving environment to be not disappointing for their users, so you know they're going to have good uptime and throughput, but small enough where not every single person in the world is trying to hammer their API as much as they possibly can all the time. So if you are struggling to get going with Gemini 3, those would be my suggestions of go check out Factory's deployment and Windsurf's deployment because they are under less load. But interesting that it seems to be working in the Gemini CLI. The main issue with Cursor is not so much availability, from what I've heard, more so than it is the performance in Cursor's harness is just really, really bad from what I've been hearing. So hopefully some of that gets sorted out. What up, Mike? What you got?
Hey guys, I'm still on Gemini free tier, chugging along.
Nice. Are you using the, how are you, I forget, you're just running it live, are you using Gemini CLI specifically?
I'm using Gemini CLI in Nix on my phone.
And yeah, so I would assume you're on Gemini, so if you're on Gemini Flash, I don't think that 3.0 had a Flash release, right?
On my phone, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm running Nix on Droid, and then I'm running Gemini in Nix Droid.
Yeah, feel free to. I imagine there are some people who haven't seen your setup. Are you in a spot where you could, like, you know, live stream what you're doing? I can.
I guess I'm live streaming right now on my channel. I'm live streaming every day, all day. You can just look at my Twitter, and you'll see a live stream.
Oh yeah, I could just do that, couldn't I suppose. Yeah, let me.
Yeah, you can just follow that.
What's your channel?
It's Introspector with a 3. On Telegram or link in the bio. Link in the bio.
There you go.
Do your own research. Not financial advice.
Absolutely. You're learning. You're acclimating well to the Web3 world, Mike. I will say. Yeah. Let me pull you up here. Yeah. Mike's got a very cool.
The process helps identify vulnerabilities.
Let's see. Are you playing you've got a notebook LM going in the background there? I take it?
Always. I got my playlist from my Telegram research channel going 24/7.
Awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I've checked in since then. But yeah, this is Mike working on his phone. Yeah, it's a Nick. If I recall, it's like Nick's kind of F-droidy sort of. Does your
Yes,
does
it's
your Android,
F-Droid install Nix.
does your Android need to be rooted for you to do something like that? To do Nick's
No, it's not rooted. I don't want Chinese malware.
You know, that's we have paid many costs, I suppose. Chinese malware.
I have some pictures of the North Korean army marching in front of my door cam if you want to see them on TikTok.
Nice, sick, dude. That sounds like an excellent excellent thing to observe.
Link in the bio.
Yeah. No, I will. We'll put you in the show notes this week too. I always forget to like.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
And
you.
I got a lot more to share. I'm working on the one-click installer for the Oracle now.
Like
Oracle has a perpetual. Oracle OCI, Larry Ellison, who bought TikTok, he's got perpetual 4 CPUs, 26 gigabytes of RAM free, ARM64 for everybody. So sign up.
Where's that at? Larry
Oracle OCI free tier. It's all linked. It's all linked from SoFundMe. I mean, it's part of. I have a meta introspector noob. I've got my noob repo with all the links.
Oh, beautiful.
But yeah.
Sick.
Anyway, Oracle OCI free tier is simple. Just
The
type
North
it in.
Korean army was walking in front of your door. Are you in North Korea? Where are you?
It's on AI with Sora. You know those door cam videos? Have you seen them on Sora?
Yeah. No, you had me worried there was an invasion happening.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, it's not beyond the pale at this point. I feel like, especially.
I'm just saying North Korea for you guys who will use npm install for anything and not Nix. That's just inviting North Koreans. That's the point.
True, actually true. No, solid point. I think solid point.
And if you say npm install Cloudflare, it's like asking for a Lehman Brothers event.
Great. Yeah. Why everybody should just have all the things. That's why I write JavaScript, so I have no privacy or coherence across my code base. That's what we're in for. Yeah. No, I think speaking of our friends across the pond, if you will, one of the other interesting releases that I happened to catch this week will be televised, also not televised. True. It will be on Sora. That's where it'll be. Tried 3.0 in OpenCode quickly via API key, but it's expensive to run. Interesting. Yeah, when I was trying it in Droid, it was the same price as GPT-5 Codex, which is like 0.5 token price, but I'm not sure. I know Factory like aggressively does caching, so I wasn't noticing a huge impact, but something to keep an eye on, I suppose. I also did hear there was something with OpenCode. Oh yeah, yesterday, OpenCode did OpenCode Gemini free 24 hours. I think yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday, unfortunately we missed it. I bugged Dax to see if we could get another one, or another run of it. But yesterday was your Gemini 3 for free in OpenCode all day yesterday. So unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get another 48 or another 24 extension. I did ask for one, but in case you missed it, OpenCode yesterday with Gemini was an excellent time to give that a try. But the original thing was there is an interesting update from our friends over at Cerebras, where they have now deployed GLM 4.6, which, if you're not familiar, is at least a contender for the best open source agentic coding model right now. I know there are a lot of American companies that are using like fine tunes of it and then remarketing it. And I use it on the GLM coder plan because I love giving all my data to North Korea. But The benefit of that plan is that it is $3 and you basically can't run out of tokens for it. No matter, I can run like 10 instances of droid and they'll just keep dumping GLM. But the very interesting part here to me is 1,000 tokens a second on a powerful open source model that is good at agentic coding on Cerebras starts at $10, which is pretty sick. And then considering we have a GLM 4.6 for our I can't believe it's not Sonnet port 4.5, and then we have Kimi K2 Thinking, which I wonder if that's on Cerebras or not. Let's see. Yeah, we have K2 Think. Sick.
So what are these things you're talking about, Yikes? I don't use any of them. What's open code? What's droid?
Yeah,
these things.
Happy to do a breakdown. Okay, so let's start at OpenCode. OpenCode.ai. So OpenCode is similar to Gemini CLI that you've been using. It's kind of another version of that. And then this one,
good.
Yeah, this one is the like, hey, we have a team of experienced open source developers who have ideas about how you should build an agentic coding harness, and we are going to have all of them put them in OpenCode, and it's going to be different than a random open source release from a random company who doesn't maintain their open source releases.
Portfolio.
Yeah. So this guy is, they also, and the way that they're supporting themselves is they're selling inference. You can get something called OpenCode Zen for like $20 a month. And then they will, I know Dax specifically has been hustling to go try his best and having some success to make models running off Zen cheaper than they are elsewhere. I know he worked out a deal with OpenAI to get like 15% off his inference on GPT-5 codex. And then he's just passing those savings directly on to customers that use OpenCode Zen. So if you haven't tried OpenCode, it's worth giving it a shot as a Gemini alternative. If for no other reason than like it gets updates like daily, and they updated their Nix hashes, so you could probably pull a flake in.
Oh, they use Nix.
Yeah.
I don't even update my Gemini because I have to roll my own Nix, and it's just super annoying.
Yeah, no. If you're already on Nix, OpenCode might be your move. I think. So OpenCode is
now. Imagine you have a one-click OpenCode installer that loads it into your cloud instance, right? Your free tier, and runs it for you.
Yeah, no, I'm liking that. A like one-click like OpenCode and then free, model API, running it on free infra. Like you can do some crazy stuff like that. Yeah, no.
Migrate between servers, snapshot onto your Git.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think the use case of I'm just going to use something like either OpenCode. Oh, yeah, there was one other thing about OpenCode. Oh, yeah, OpenCode server WebSockets. Let's see where. Yeah. I think the potential of a CLI agent that you just drop into your cloud box and it's already oriented for your cloud environment, and you just like tell that agent to do stuff instead of going and manually deploying through the AWS console or any other like god awful nightmare machine.
Yeah, one click.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So if you can one click an OpenCode server with a simple REST API, no fancy protocols, and you can just curl that server with directives to your harnessed code.
There you go, and it keeps the state.
Yeah. And then as such, you deploy your box with that one click. You just start curling directly at the box with whatever it is you want done DevOps wise, and it just magically happens. I think is a really.
And your live stream is your RSS feed that it generates real time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a woefully underexplored paradigm that definitely I remember back when I wanted to do that with like 4 turbo and E2B sandboxes, but now it's potentially a lot easier, and potentially obviously keep an eye out on Soulfun meme and introspector for the incoming one-click. But yeah, I think OpenCode would be a great fit for that, considering I think they have kind of a similar Nixy philosophy to you, where it's like, okay, let's just make this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be anything you can install with Nix.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that fits on your free tier server that's like a 1 gigabyte or 12 gigabyte or 24 gigabyte server,
Mm-hmm.
or your own.
Yeah, I think, just instances of OpenCode server running on a bunch of clouds, free tiers, and then deploying to that cloud as needed, and then tearing down to save money could be a very efficient way to run a cloud.
Or as a way of earning money, if you have a server, you could run jobs for other people.
Absolutely.
And produce ZK proofs.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, so that one is OpenCode. The next thing referenced there would be, oh, cool, nice job, Gemini. Not too bad for a one-shot. I'm presuming these are dummy events, but could be worse. Cerebras is the next thing. So Cerebras is a model inference company. Their whole thing is like, yeah, we're not OpenAI, but we run on custom silicon, and the whole point is that, yeah, OpenAI might run big models or powerful models, but we run models fast, way faster than anybody else could, because we specifically built new chips so that we could run them really, really fast. So Cerebras coding plan is like, yeah, same models you get on Ollama, but 100 times faster. So you get, which I think is at times undervalued in the like agentic coding space. I think some places are kind of starting to get it, especially with Composer. But the having a model that takes a long time but usually does it right, in some cases is worse than a model that is not as good as that model, but can do it 100 times in that time that one big model took to do it. Allows for some very like interesting ways to think about, okay, like how should I modify my workflow if I can just suddenly magic up 100 attempts at this kind of thing. GLM 4.6 is a Chinese model from Z.ai. And moral of the story for GLM is that it's pretty. One can be fairly certain. Oh, okay. Drunken walk model. Screen shower down. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let me double check and make sure my stream didn't die too, because it usually does when that happens. Let's see. Yeah. As usual. Oh wait, no. I think we're good. Let me scroll that. Yeah, it's still working. Okay, nice. Sick. Yeah, so the GLM 4.6, they swear that they didn't, but it's pretty obvious that they did, like, heavily distill 4.5 Sonnet and then make, like, a 200B version that's really, really good at tool calling in the same format as Claude. So if you stick GLM into a harness like Claude Code, or Droid, also fine-tuned a copy for Droid Core, then you get comparable performance, but for like pennies on the dollar. GLM, I think, GLM's coding plan is $3 a month, and there are like, you can just let it rip for like 24/7, like 1 or 2 instances, and you won't run out of tokens. And then the last one is Kimi K2, which was a release that we briefly covered last week. But the general idea with K2 Kimi, K2 thinking release. The general idea with Kimi was that here is a large sparse model. So this is like about a trillion parameters. It is very, very sparse. So they have a really excellent technical report that I would recommend going through if that kind of nerd stuff is interesting to you. And this, on some benchmarks for some tasks, it actually beats 4.1 Opus. So the sort of overall moral of the story is that in theory we have on dedicated fast hardware something that's like a budget version of Sonnet, and something on dedicated fast hardware that's like a budget version of Opus, that I presume you can get stuff done with at for anything that wasn't pushing Sonnet and Opus to their absolute limit, and they just barely got it. You should be able to get the same thing done with K2 Thinking and GLM 4.6, but for 100 times cheaper and 100 times faster is the hope, I suppose. And you would do that via running Cerebrus with K2 Thinking and then GLM 4.6 for your speedy model. Would be the general thought, and then you could run that whole thing as an open code server on a NixFlake, and have a whole agentic cloud for like $3 a month. Seems pretty good. Let's see. When I was looking it up, so Copilot CLI, I had always thought that facts, right? I had always thought that Copilot CLI just meant the GH CLI. Have any of you guys actually used the CLI coding agent called Copilot CLI? Because I literally just figured out that this was actually a thing like today.
I started looking into it, or I think I used it. I used the Copilot CLI, yes, and it used up my credits very quickly. My free tier, so.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if you saw it, but Brad said underwhelming in the chat, which I think is pretty accurate.
Yeah. No, I could see it. I'm not. The only thing that would, in theory, excite me about using Copilot CLI is if this lets me use my GitHub model marketplace quota for inference, because then I would have a limited amount of extra tokens from big models to play with would be nice. Otherwise, this just looks like a less good version of something that 10 other people are doing already. But
I've been looking at some, and there's some really good CLIs coming out in Rust. If this one's not, I think the OpenAI Codex one is in Rust.
It is, yeah.
I started to port it over to Android, but it's so bloated.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think originally the Codex CLI wasn't Rust, and then it got forked over to Codex RS, and then they built it back upstream, if I remember the chronology correctly there. I could definitely see it being kind of a bloated mess, because presumably they released it open source so that someone else would do all the work for them, and then just said, great, thanks for doing the work, and merged it in. So I think that's kind of the moral of the story. But yeah, I think I can certainly see the potential for other CLIs written in Rust. Do you have one that's coming to mind for you, Mike, of Rust-based terminal CLIs?
I have a whole collection of them. Right now, I haven't even started on it because I'm working on my Rust code deduplication scheme. The content addressable Rust.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, now we have so many, I don't even need to use tokens at all anymore, guys. Just forget about using tokens, and now we have to merge hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of repos of people who did use tokens into one.
Well, yes, the problem of, yes, you can generate a lot of code and put it into a repo and get it to work is, I am fairly sold that that's a thing you can do with agents, but getting that code verified and then cutting it down to like human readable, organized, like good code.
No. To a topological space in the Riemann manifold. That's what you're trying to say.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, the reason that you would enter that topological space would be so that you can get the good code out of the everybody pushed 1 billion tokens worth of code already. But yes, and one of the ways that you could do that is by doing something like modeling a Riemann manifold and then trying to do predictions over what the valid code should be for this big glob of nonsense. I think that kind of remains an open question.
And this is an undecidable problem, and it's equivalent to the halting problem, and can't be done in general.
Or what do you mean?
Trying to understand code is equivalent to the halting problem, and it cannot be done in general. It can only be done specifically in pockets.
Sure, yeah, because the question of like, there are multiple ways to approach this execution path, and all of them are theoretically valid, but only one of the many of them is the one that should actually go into this code base, which is sort of the hard problem to try and solve, and remains unsolved as far as I'm aware. But if anybody has solved it, please come by and tell me about it, because I really want to know. I am trying to solve it myself, but it's not easy. The other big one I have not. This just got dropped this morning, I think. What up, Rome? How's it going? Is 5.1 codex-max.
Good, man, you?
Not too shabby. A bunch of releases this week. Did you get a chance to play with Gemini 3 yet?
Not yet. I was watching the anti-gravity, or should I say cursor clone,
Windsurf fork.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah,
They took everything in the playbook and they kind of, did it was an interesting video of a demo, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing is that yet another vscode fork, and the further story of that is that this one looks like a windsurf fork to people, as far as kind of rumblings around the.
Oh, interesting.
Which is an interesting, like, a fork of a fork of a fork kind of position to take, so potentially there should be some differentiation, but yeah, I think end of the day, I think Google's been really all over the place with that, because we had IDX,
Correct.
We had Jules, we had Gemini CLI, and now we have anti-gravity. I don't think all of those other ones I just mentioned are either poorly or not supported, or just give it to open source and let them deal with it. So I wouldn't necessarily think that anti-gravity will strictly be around in a year, which is kind of why I'm hesitant to spend time onboarding. But I do want to like play around with it.
Yeah, no, of course. The only good thing I would say on this is the fact that they have Nano Banana integrated is the only cool thing I would say. Like, it would be cool if Cursor had a way, when you ask it to generate images for logos and stuff, instead of having to disrupt your workflow and go anywhere else, you can just invoke any image creation model directly from there.
Interesting.
I think that's the missing piece.
Yeah, I had not heard about that. That's
If you watch their demo video when they're building the flight tracker, in the middle of it, he says, okay, now let's do a logo. He launches an agent that does strictly like design, and then the second one does the real API linking rather than the mock one that he started with, just to show how two agents can work in parallel in the same code base.
interesting.
Yeah, just go towards the middle.
Yeah.
Go towards the middle, you'll see it. But that's the only interesting part, in my opinion. And that's it. I feel like every time there is a new release, I don't know if it's just me, but the cost of changing and trying these things is getting too high. Like before, it was just, oh, that's cool because the leap of features was high enough for you to justify the hurdle. Now it's like, nah.
Yeah, I think that's from a like, if what you're doing is building AI dev tools perspective, I think switching costs and tool fatigue is definitely something to be like more like, if you weren't aware of it and you were building an AI dev tool, I'm sorry that you're having a bad time, because I assume you are having a bad time. But I would encourage more deep consideration of that than one used to be, largely because, exactly as you say, there are a lot of really good tools on the market, and I think the question of like being able to be one that is one people just kind of reach for and stick to is I think building for that is more important than building for anything like benchmark performance or anything like that. Like, end of the day, I think the people using it have to be like really you have to be really sticky to them. You have to like make them very happy right when they open you up. Part of that will be like your benchmark performance, et cetera. But I think having like good UX and good community and good docs and support for your users for when something goes wrong, and then trying to your very damnedest to avoid, like, for anything that you do more often than once a day, or for any workflow that's going to take more than 30 minutes, like, dial that in and make sure nothing about it is unpleasant, because a lot of these are just sort of getting slapped together and shipped.
Hey, yikes. What you're describing is a compiler, which runs for a long time, and it's very, very unpleasant.
What I'm describing is a compiler. Or...
Yeah, the compiler, you run it for a long time, and it has a horrible, horrible user interface, but you still go back to it all the time.
Okay.
It's like, right?
Yeah, natural language compiler. So I think these compilers we're starting to enter, I guess, the Python or JavaScript era, if you will, where enough of the underlying compilers have had their bugs worked out, where if you tape over the top of it, it looks like everything is fine. And I think delivering an experience that's like JS-like, of, okay, I can just kind of NPM install this thing and I can get started building, is something important to be aware of if what you're doing is doing DevTools at the moment. Personal opinion, I suppose.
The one installer that launches your agent that does what you want it to do.
Yeah, and end of the day, the thing that you want to nail is, like, the experience of this being a thing that I want to build muscle memory for. I think you kind of have to, like, that's the thing you want to sell these days.
You need to solve the harness. That's the only thing you need to solve. Like, the reason why Cloud works so well, and the reason why people keep coming back to Cursor, is I think they've done the harness really well. And that's the same thing about the guys that, you know, are AMP maxis, is the same thing, right? The rest, if you start to feel like you need to handle the agent and you don't trust it, then it's kind of useless, right? Regardless of the model that you put in it.
Yeah, I think Amp's positioning on this is I like them as a good example, in that the really what they're over indexing on is trying to make the UX sort of portion and the like all the parts. The approach they're taking with the harness is, we're not going to give you configuration options just so you have less to think about, and then we're going to do all that thinking for you, load you up, and then try to facilitate things other than messing with your config for you to do, because what we want you doing with this thing is using it to ship code. And I think that's a strong, like, kudos to AMP for what their marketing and community teams, like, I think their overall strategic vision there is really solid. So kudos to those guys. I want to see if I can one of these weeks I will get Ryan Carson over here to come give us a little AMP tour. But till then, worth checking out. And yeah, as you can see with AMP that we were just on, their new main model is Gemini 3 Pro, actually, which is an interesting choice. They've been married to Sonnet 4.5 since it came out, and they even struggled, or originally I think they were all Sonnet all the time. And then they started moving over to GPT-5 for cheaperness, and it was having some trouble. And then now they're moving over to Gemini 3 Pro, which is I think from a product delivery perspective, I guess. The case that they make for doing that, rather than letting you pick the model, is so that their team can rebuild their harness around model changes, so that you don't have to, like, fiddle with all the nuts and bolts and try to dial it in yourself, which is an interesting take. I think philosophically I agree, but I'm not sure on execution. The big thing that bugs me about AMP is that I can't, like, try out new models, and I just sort of have to take their word for it. I think it's an interesting decision to make. Let's see. Claude code changelog I thought was a little bit interesting, in that they're brushing up on their hooks. We touched on it last week, but it seems like everybody's adding hooks right now, which do seem to be. I can see why they're important, right? But it's like everybody is doing that at the same time, which is interesting. But we have enhanced hooks from Droid, and then now we have further hooks updated from whoever I was just looking at, which is Claude code, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So now we have more granular control over the kinds of events that are getting sent by these hooks. I'm sort of hoping that we land on kind of an industry standard across these hooks, because I'd like to start leveraging them more, and ideal, and it'll be a pain if I have to learn a different set of hooks for each agent. But the other interesting little tidbit on Factory is Factory has skills now too. I think it was 2 weeks ago where we touched on Claude Code's skills release, and we have a couple of repos up that I will link in show notes, of course. But the other thing that I found actually is Open Skills, GitHub. This guy. So, yes, Factory did manually implement it. Claude Code has it implemented. This will implement the whole thing for all of your other agents by making it a CLI. Hey, what do you know? CLI entry points are really, really good for agents, because you can just tell them to run CLI command help, and then they're good. Worth checking this one out too, which I'll leave a link to. Yeah, I'm curious if anybody has like been iterating on the whole skills thing, or like finding that skills are finding a place in the workflow, or still just kind of like a novelty.
Can I just throw something in real quick?
Yeah, do it. You're good.
All of this is function calling, which is basically, in the end, going to resolve either local or remote execution. And let's say it's local execution. Why don't we link all those binaries into the main executable and make one compact binary that has everything that you need, and then skill calling is just resolving to an internal function?
Yeah, I have been wondering on the like end of the day, what is an agent other than tool calling in a loop, right? I think there's a good amount of...
It's your REPL CLI, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a good amount of prominent like context. I'm thinking of like a couple articles from Dex, and then like some other context engineering kind of principles. And yeah, it's interesting to think about where the line is, or where it should be, in terms of when do we make this into a different feature and call it something else, or like, can we just integrate this into our current like while loop sort of situation, and people will know how to interface with it, or it'll give them the benefit that they need.
Well, let's say it's running on your cloud server, or it's running on your iPhone, and you want a custom built binary, signed and secured, that has exactly the tools that you need to do the job. And you might have 100 of those configurations stored in your Nix store.
Yeah, I think yeah. So Anthropic is trying to take that approach with skills, as far as I know. There is what they did with skills and plugins too. Technically, is they have a marketplace, and I forget if .com/anthropic/skills. I forget if the skills marketplace and the plugin marketplace are two different things, or if they're the same thing. But I do know these skills are available via their marketplace API, and I know Droid has integrated with that. But the basic principle of let's have a way where we can sort of port and modulate functionality per task, and then like across people, and then also sort of discover functionality configurations that are working for other people is an interesting... Yeah, I think essentially that's the point of all of these implementations of skills or MCPs or hooks or
well, that's where you get into. This is where you get into 402, right? Where you say you have a credit score of the 402 provider if it's an external one.
Mhm.
Like, what is people's experience? And then you need some kind of brokerage firm, like a credit card company, to give you a payback if they don't deliver.
Interesting. So like a kind of form of insurance for this skill, and then you run that with like you could probably set something up like X402 on the blockchain, sort of automated payments.
Do you ever hear of the Kelly girls?
No, I'm not familiar.
We're basically like a temp agency where you get a certain kind of fungible secretary.
Like Kelly Services, is that kind of what we're?
Kelly Services, exactly that. The Kelly girls.
Okay. So yeah,
they were a temp agency.
Yeah. So the idea would be these skills are effectively little temps because they are workflows that are supposed to accomplish a goal, and if they don't accomplish the goal in your harness, then they should have some sort of guarantee that they will be accomplishing that goal, so they can get some kind of feedback, and that you don't end up with skills that don't work for you, kind of thing. I think this is an
yes, your guaranteed delivery.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny where Anthropic is calling these things marketplaces, but there's no market involved. There's nobody's paying anyone for anything. Which I think is, I think it should be market.
Dude, have you followed the whole the 402 craze right now? There's some good Bankless episodes on it. You should check it out for sure. It's just the total craze right now.
Yeah, I'm familiar with X402. I haven't gone super deep on. I think Rome. You're X402 compatible, aren't you? Pretty sure.
I am, yeah. I was one of the first 6 projects of X4 demo day back in June. So yeah, I had it has that's what's powering the MCP actually on Tibonamd.
Huh. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen either a plugin or a skill or an MCP marketplace that uses X402 gating for kind of transactions related to agent stuff. But I would assume that the challenge there is getting people to pay for things like skills or MCP servers, because it seems, at least by my count, the sort of implicit assumption for all of those things is that they're all going to be open source and fully accessible, which they kind of should be, but also some.
So yikes! This is where we get into if 5 people own some tokens, right? How do you ensure that they're optimally using all of your credits? If you put them into a pool and then do a billing system and a load balancing system, right, through 402 for your internal group, then you could allocate those resources and sell them cheaper to your group.
You could allocate.
Right? Yeah, if everyone has 5 accounts of different providers, like open router.
Oh, sure.
Basically. Right, and you all throw them together in a group, and you have some kind of billing system where you split the bill. You could get a more optimal load for everybody, right?
Yeah, no, I think we have discussed kind of heading in that direction when we're working on our current product. I think there is like of the economics of how these tokens are working and the $200 a month plan is really hard to make that make sense on both sides. Both as a user, like, yeah, I want to be able to grab a Sonnet or an Opus when I need one, but I'm definitely not going to use all this quota, and the leash that you're giving me, Dario, is really weirdly sort of like segmented in such a way where like I have to wake up at 3 a.m. and write a whole shitload of code.
Exactly, I have to wake up.
Yeah.
And we still can't trust these models to operate on their own because they're going to go off and spend the money on something stupid.
Yep. Yeah, and I think I could certainly see a case of let's all pool our 5 max subscriptions, and then whoever is, pushing the most code can rotate around whichever one of those max subscriptions has available quota on it. Just sort of on a.
Well, you have your own DAO with its own rules and your own value judgment.
Well, yeah, and then you can kind of get you could go all the way down the rabbit hole on that on that one. But I think in principle there are a lot of I don't know ways to sort of think about how to resolve that problem. I'm looking at my clock. I'm seeing 55, so I want to open the floor for anything anybody has had on their mind that did not get a chance to yap about it. Let's see. Tip.md, true. Pull that one up. Yeah, an instance of X4 to go on screen.
It was just a quick demo of, there's this X42 scan that came out, and there's this composer now where you can test the endpoints. So that was just a demo of that.
Interesting. Yeah. So X402 scan. So for those of you who aren't familiar with X402, which is the thing we were just talking about the idea being for requests made, you could gate the 402 response behind a paywall effectively, so that if I'm an agent and I'm trying to make a request to your service, you can do transactions for that in an autonomous way where you don't have to involve a human. That's sort of what X402 is by my count. Which I see, we have so the composer is like their little agent builder kind of thing. That's what it looks like, as far as I can see.
Yeah, that's correct.
Nice.
If you go, you can test out the endpoints, and you also can create agents on there. So if you go back on the page, you were on mine actually.
On yours, got it. Yeah, I think I'm sort of interested. Yeah, it's definitely. I think
it's actually a very easy way to play around with it. I would recommend if you have never dived into the space, I think that this is a good way to kind of start and explore what's happening. Obviously, there is a lot of craze around who has the most volume, etc. A lot of faking going on, but all of this will dial down, and I think. You guys mentioned skills, right? If you think about it, at the end of the day, these are just executables. They're just mini apps, right? So there might be the same way you're paying for apps in the App Store. I see a future where you can actually use that to have your agent add things for his little app store, right? And just, I don't have the skill. Let me just see if there's one of them available, and then ask your approval, and then pay for it, and then he owns it, right? So maybe that could be something. I agree that. My intention as well is all of this is going to be open source, because at the end of the day, they are just .md files. But also, maybe there might be a world where you can only see the content of the skill if you go pay for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, let me. I just took a look at I actually got comments this time, which is delightful. So let me.
Hey guys, who wants to register a domain with me?
Why? What is that? Why?
Onlyskills.com.
Only a. Gemini.
She has only skills. She's very qualified.
There we go. Absolutely. Kelly Services, right?
Kelly Services. There you
go. Let me check in. Let's see. We had Sorstan Sold asking what we were cooking. We are cooking kind of the weekly roundup, as is the thing that we do. And then in the future, I do plan to do some hack nights. I just need to be able to breathe for 2 seconds so I can set some of them up. Matt didn't like open code, and he likes factory better, which is you get 10 million tokens. Actually, if you come to this event and you are and you know the secret password because you came to the event, you can actually find a promo from Ray Fernando for 40 million tokens, actually, which I think is a fantastic thing that Factory is doing for the community, which is super dope. And then Carlo says anti-gravity is pretty cool. I might pull anti-gravity back out. I'm wondering if day 2 is maybe a little bit more better. And then we have solve for refunds on that. I imagine X402 is something that has that can facilitate refunds, but
well, the refunds, and then they were saying that this 402 is surging with stable coins because the stable coins offer a very easy payment mechanism.
Yes, which also checks out to me in that the I think especially with Composer now, I think if you're a builder in the AI space at the moment, especially like Solo or Indie or whatever, and you are not familiar with Web3 at all, I know it can be kind of like daunting and annoying to be in there, but I think it's worth checking out, especially like X402 specifically, something of a neutral protocol, and it is entirely oriented around being able to facilitate commerce between things that